Hi, welcome to the Boyd Life.
Today we're going to talk about a phrase that we heard from a friend, and it was re-elect no one. So we're going to talk about our feelings on that. Stay tuned.
Hello, welcome to the Boyd Life. This is Life with Rick and Marta, where we will be discussing practically anything, any subject. It just really isn't off limits. We are expressing our views, opinions, and thoughts on various subjects. And it could be good, bad, or anything in between. Okay? So that's what's up with the Boyd Life. And let me point out this disclaimer. The views expressed on this channel may or may not be 100% factual. Anything goes, so have fun and be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below.
Okay, today we're going to talk about the phrase re-elect no one. Now, when we were thinking about that, and yes, we kind of agree. We're both for term limits.
Yes, that is what I'd really like to see happen. I know that it would take a big movement and some representatives and senators and stuff that would actually propose a bill and get enough people to vote in Congress, because that would have to change the Constitution, wouldn't it?
Right. And so we'd like to see that, some term limits on certain offices, maybe also an age limit on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I don't think there should be term limits on Supreme Court, because that'd be chaos. But I do think that after a certain age, and
mandatory
retirement, because Ruth Ginsburg, I mean, she couldn't even get to court. Some of the justices get so old, and they're not really doing their job.
Yeah, I don't know if but the same is true in Congress. Term limits, is something that we need to really think about and discuss and get the right, everything meshed together. Term limits and age limits. Now, other things where people are appointed, I think anybody should be able to be let go. Well, years ago, I don't think our forefathers intended for people to go into a political office, a representative type of thing, and stay there as long as they could.
Well, the whole thing, if you watch, like on the History Channel, there was a thing about George Washington. And people say, oh, this guy served 12 years. I mean, that was, he kept serving, and he's one of the founders who said government should not be people serving forever. That's a king. That's a monarchy. So he was against serving terms like that. Matter of fact, when it was all decided he was going to serve, he volunteered to run the first election. He was going to, when he won the election, he said, one term. That's all I want to do. One term. People shouldn't run more than that. That's a service to the country, and you needed me, so I'm going to do one term. So here they're up for second term, and they're saying, man, there's nobody out there. Nobody wants to do this. This is a tough job. We need you to run again.
He wanted, I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but I kept thinking he wanted to go back home
to his home,
to his
tobacco
land,
farm,
or whatever,
to his home
work,
and his family. Well, so he got second term. So then it came third term, and he goes, no, I am not running again. He did not want to run, but you know what's in the history book. So even then, there was a need for that because they needed a leader for the country, that all the things we were going through.
Since we were just starting out.
Now,
or
more, 2 terms of a president, that 8 years, okay, that's I'm glad there's term limits on that. Senators and representatives, there isn't. And look what we're getting.
They didn't expect, our forefathers did not expect people to just keep wanting to, because they forgot about people's, about 2 things, power and money. And it seems to me like if you look at these people who've been in for 50 years or however more, maybe, I don't know, it has to be about power and
money.
They all leave rich.
So, yeah, somebody should question this. Why is a person or a backing spending millions of dollars to get a $200,000 a year job? There has to be, whatever it is, but it's below 300,000. But they're spending millions of dollars to get that job. Now, there has to be something that's worth that, So they're getting more than that for that job. So
look at all their perks.
Yes, all their perks, but plus they spend more time running for the next term than they do working for the term that they're in.
Working for the people.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I really don't know how much time they spend working. And they say, they have to get a place to live in Washington.
And they got to go back home to talk to the constituents.
Maybe it was easier when everybody was just in a small area in the East, until the country spread out and everything. But I don't think they need to spend that much time in Washington because they're supposed to be representing the people of their states. So I think the majority of their time should be spent in the states, knowing what their voters want.
What they want. And
then going back to Congress.
And having votes at certain times.
And yes.
Not having votes. Because if you look at Congress and when they're voting, a lot of times they're voting, which is ridiculous, at midnight. And then they expect everybody to be there for that vote. No, people just go in or send in a vote and whatever. And a lot of these people aren't voting for what you really want. And yet you keep re-electing them into office because they promise that they're going to change and vote for what you want. And then they come up with some excuse why they voted against what you really wanted for a bill to increase spending. Because what happens is in these bills, who nobody reads fully because there are thousands of pages.
Yeah, ridiculous.
In there someplace is something for them or another senator that nobody knows about. And then you wonder, how'd this become a bill? Well, because it's underneath this bill for funding orphans, and underneath that bill is a pay raise for senators.
Well, why? I was kind of curious because something like that just came up recently when they were out of money. We have to increase the budget, or we have to have something, or they'll have to take away Social Security. We won't be able to pay all this stuff. But in that bill for too much money to tide them over, supposedly whatever they needed, there was funding for what was that? Where they got the money, more money to send to Ukraine, and
there was
whatever
money
else.
for
There's a bunch of other things.
So to increase our budget, they had to add money for Ukraine, money for this, money for that, and it's ridiculous now that they complain about our national debt.
So what if there were not just term limits, but we, the people, determine what benefits and perks they get. While they're serving, they should get health care, and maybe they should get maybe health care should continue for a certain number of months after they leave that office to get back into the private sector.
Yes, but not forever.
Not forever. And retirement? Hello. They'll serve, 8 years? You don't get a full-blown retirement for the rest of your life. No, you get money put in. You can put money into it. The government or your employer puts money into your, 401k or whatever they call it. And when that's over, it's over. You take that money. If you're not retirement age, you probably don't. You can roll it over into something else, but it's not enough for you to sit back on your haunches, and it's not your paycheck. Right.
I think presidents should get, after they've served as a president, then they should get something for, like security, detail guards, like they do now, because
a certain amount,
right? A certain amount, not the whole, not for everybody and their brother, but for that president. So that I can see for presidents, but for congressmen and senators, no, they should not get these special things after they're out of office. Let them go back in the workforce. Yes. Most of them are lawyers or whatever in professional capacities. They're going to be fine. They serve their country, but I don't like people that have been political for 50 years.
No.
That is not good.
And the thing is, a lot of people write books, or they go somewhere and make appearances or give speeches.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
okay,
can get,
but not on
some income from that. Nobody said that going into public service was supposed to make you wealthy and powerful.
Yeah, because then you lose.
It wasn't supposed to.
You lose touch. You lose touch.
Yeah. And so we think there are some good politicians out there. We're not going to name names. I can think of a few that I think are probably good for the country or their state
and worth
whatever.
Reelecting. That's why we don't agree with the reelect no one,
yeah.
because there are good ones out there. But
I think there should be a limit to the amount of public service, because people are going into political science now and making it a career. And to me, it shouldn't really be a career.
Political science is different than running for office. So you go into political science, you're studying politics. Studying politics is okay.
Study history.
Real history. Being a lobbyist and things like that.
And what does a lobbyist do?
They push people to their beliefs.
They offer you something.
Companies offer you something to vote certain ways. So, and that's lobbyists. So lobbyists say to the senator, if you vote for the tobacco bill, we'll give you so much money for your campaign.
It's just like
it's bribing.
It's like that movie we saw,
Mr. President.
No, years ago with Eddie Murphy.
That's what it was. It
wasn't called Mr. President.
Oh, whatever.
No. But anyway, and he said, "You mean if I vote for milk,
you'll give me $50,000."
So whichever way I go, and the person said, "Now you're getting it. You got it.
If you like milk, we'll give you this much. If you don't like milk, I can get this much." So he says, either way,
there should be lobbyists.
Either way,
it's supposed to be what the people want, not what some lobbyist or company wants to do.
Well, that's
wrong. That's where it's all gone wrong.
Unfortunately, the country, that's the way it's working, is wherever the money is, that's where the vote's going to go.
That's why we have to make changes to the system, and amend the Constitution what it was written
It's
for.
hard to do amend a
but
constitution.
keep it, you know,
We just
for
need
patriots and
to keep
citizens.
the politicians honest. And to do that, there has to be consequences. And what I mean by consequences is if they don't vote the way you want them to vote, get them out of office.
It doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Liberal, whatever.
If
vote
your representative
that way
is
for
not
someone
voting
who isn't doing
the
it.
way you want them to vote, don't be afraid to vote them out of the office. And don't let them tell you that, well, I need to be reelected because I'm on this really important committee.
Oh, yeah.
Well, bunk, because if you start rotating those people, there will be people on that committee. None of those committees change very much. And so the seniority, all that is you're going to do it my way. Well, if you don't like that the way the committee's going and your senator's the head of the committee, get rid of him. You've got to get rid of these people. Just don't go into elections and vote blindly.
Yeah. You might want to vote Democrat or Republican or like whatever else
Independent.
I said, or liberal or what have you. But there are people who've been in there. If you don't want to vote for the other person, then don't vote at all for that, category. Leave that blank. Don't vote that person back in. Let, I guess, the other people that are voting, determine. But hopefully,
Well, unfortunately, what people
Does that not
think
work?
no, what people think now
Well.
is if they don't vote for their Democrat person or their Republican person, then the other party's going to get in. Well, it's a tough choice because right now, if you vote that way, then worrying about the other party, well, then you're voting for a terrible person to get in. Sometimes the other guy is better, and you might find out that he'll vote for your state better than the guy that you wanted. So let's get out of this Democrat Republican thing and just do the guy that's best for your views. Okay. So he might not be the Democrat. He might not be the Republican. The guy that gives what you want.
if nothing has been going, I know we've got to wrap it up, but if nothing has really, you go, well, nothing's really changed. Has your situation really improved dramatically? What about, the future for your children, or what is it? We have a law about everything. Pretty soon, if we keep letting them do all these laws and you push it, we won't be able to do a thing.
So let's change our
thinking and the way we do things.
Like I said in another video, let's get in the middle, not one side or the other. Let's do what's better for the United States. And it might be something that against your normal policies, but you might think this guy can be better.
What are your thoughts? I mean, maybe we're
off base.
Maybe we're wrong.
But all I know is
it's our opinion.
Yeah.
We want to know what you think.
Got to get more in the center. We can't be on the fringes of each side.
And
so let's make America better. Thank you for watching our videos.
If you
please comment, share, subscribe,
like,
give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever you like, because that's what we're here for, conversation.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.